In a race against time, a group of American astronauts embarks on humanity's first mission to Mars. But what begins as a groundbreaking voyage soon turns into a deadly journey filled with mysterious discoveries and dangerous encounters. As they uncover strange artifacts and encounter unexplained phenomena on the Red Planet, they must confront the question, are they truly alone in the vastness of space? Join us as we dive into the story of the American science fiction adventure film Mission to Mars, released in 2000. The movie opens at a barbecue party of some American astronauts, along with their families, just before America is about to send its first manned mission to Mars. A senior space pilot named Woody and his wife Terry, who is also an astronaut, are also present at the party. Woody and Terry would also be going to Mars on Mars 2 rockets sometime later. Meanwhile, the host of the party, Luke, who is going on the Mars 1 mission, awaits his friend Jim, who arrives late at the party. It is later revealed that Jim and his wife Maggie were also astronauts, who were really ambitious to go on the first mission to Mars. But unfortunately, Maggie died due to sickness sometime earlier, and Jim could not continue his job properly due to his grief and was dropped out of the first mission. 13 months later in the Cydonia region of Mars, Luke and his crew's rover detect a strange shiny white projection on the top of the mountain. Thinking that it may be related to some underground source of water, they decide to investigate it and send the briefing to their mission commander, Ray Beck, who is present on the World Space Station along with Woody, Terry, Jim, and another sarcastic guy named Phil. In the video message briefing, Luke and the crew also celebrate Jim's birthday on Mars. Soon after, a crew of 4 approaches the symmetrical white projection on the top of the mountain. There they hear strange noises, which Luke thinks may be from interference from the rover. Upon scanning the mountain, it is revealed that there is something made of metal in its core. However, their instruments suddenly shut down while scanning, and some mysterious force creates a tornado-like monster that engulfs and kills the remaining 3 crew before they can escape, while Luke gets buried in the sand. Meanwhile, at the space station, the team assembles for a briefing about how an intense energy pulse was detected on Mars, after which all the data transmission from the Mars base station stopped. The resupply module, REMO, however, received a transmission just before the energy pulse. As they watch the transmission, a distorted image of Luke appears, asking for help and telling them that all his crew has died. Luke's friends then immediately request Ray to send a rescue mission to save Luke, as the energy pulse would have destroyed all electrical equipment on Luke's Earth Return Vehicle, or ERV. But Ray is not sure whether Luke even survived or not. Phil then suggests sending the Saturn Imaging Probe, or SEMA, to get a view of Mars to visualize Luke. After some debate on the feasibility of this mission, Ray finally agrees to let Jim plan for the rescue. After the rest leave, Woody asks Ray to let Jim be the co-pilot on the mission, since he is the best pilot around. Initially, Ray doesn't agree because Jim failed to take a psych evaluation earlier, which would have enabled him to join the Mars 1 mission. Woody argues that Jim was too grieved to talk about his wife, and after some discussion, he eventually convinces Ray to agree. In the next scene, 6 months have passed, and the Mars recovery ship containing Woody, Terry, Jim, and Phil approaches Mars. Phil and Jim see that a dust storm is covering the whole of Mars, so they decide to speed up the mission, since the dust storms usually last for a year, which will impede their mission. Soon, they receive SEMA and view the surface of Mars. They see that the base camp is all right and also discover 3 graves beside it, signaling that Luke may still be alive. Meanwhile, the site of the incident is covered with a strange glowing sphere, which they think may be some kind of interference with SEMA, although the radiation levels are safe on the surface. Later on, they receive a message from Ray, approving them to land on Mars for the recovery mission, and they celebrate. In the next scene, Ray is seen watching videos of his time with Maggie. As Woody comes up to him, he shares that Maggie may have been right about the presence of extraterrestrial species wanting to connect with humans on Mars. These aliens could also be behind the strange events happening recently. Upon approaching close to Mars's orbit, the team runs the orbital capture simulation one last time. But things take a turn when some micrometeorites suddenly collide with the spacecraft and injure Phil's hand. Woody immediately seals the puncture in the wall using a special glue paste. But their air pressure keeps falling and the ship's systems crash, suggesting more areas of damage to the ship's hull. So the crew suits up to fix the hull except for Jim, whose helmet has been damaged by the meteorite, and there's not enough time for him to grab the spare one. So Woody heads outside to investigate the leak site, while Phil plans to hard reboot the systems and tells Jim to restore the navigation system. As the oxygen levels keep falling, Woody can't find the tiny site of leakage outside the large hull. Meanwhile, Jim is quickly running out of oxygen, making it difficult for him to speak. He then stops the artificial gravity rotation of the hull and tells Terry to spill some of Dr. Pepper's drink in the zero-gravity space, which flows outside from the leak site and helps Woody fix it. As the pressure falls to almost zero, Jim collapses, but Phil restores the ship's systems and Terry provides oxygen to Jim, saving his life. Next, they prepare to launch the ship's thrusters to enter Mars's orbit. However, it is shown that they missed the damage to the fuel pipes of the ship, and some fuel leaks out of the craft. As soon as they ignite the thrusters, the leaked fuel also ignites, resulting in an explosion, causing severe damage to the rocket, and they lose control. So the crew then plans to abandon the ship to board the Remo, which will be passing from nearby soon. In the next scene, Woody leads the team as they enter space, their suits being tethered to one another. Unfortunately, their calculations go wrong, and they are not able to approach Remo, which is passing some distance away. In a risky plan, Woody then separates his tether and takes the hook of a tethering gun alone towards Remo to attach the hook to it so that others can reel themselves in. Using all his remaining fuel, he quickly approaches Remo and attaches the hook to it, but he loses grip due to his fast speed and floats away helplessly. The remaining three then reel themselves towards Remo, and Woody tells them not to wait for him as it's too late to save him. But his wife thrusts herself towards him and fires the tethering gun. Unfortunately, the reel falls short just by a few meters, but Terry is still determined to save him, risking her own life as she would lose the fuel to return back to. So, to protect his wife, Woody says one last goodbye and kills himself by removing his helmet. Full of grief, Terry then heads back to Remo, and they safely land on Mars. Heading to the base with some supplies, the team finds that the very base and ERV are still in good condition. Despite the oxygen generator being busted, Jim finds that the oxygen levels are still normal inside the base. The reason is revealed to him when he finds that the greenhouse is working well with green plants inside. Jim is then about to be attacked by Luke from behind, but he quickly turns back to defend himself upon seeing Luke's reflection. After almost a year of living alone, Luke cannot believe his friends have come to rescue him. Later, Luke then tells them how he barely made it back to base after being attacked by the mysterious force, believing he was spared on purpose. Meanwhile, his friends also tell him their story and show the equipment they brought along to fix the ERV so they can safely return home. Luke then shows them pictures of a mysterious white object in the shape of a human face that was revealed after his encounter with the sand monster. The others are surprised to see such a thing and believe the Martians may have built it, but it remained hidden in sand and rocks for thousands of years. Furthermore, Luke decoded the strange sounds coming from the object, which was revealed to be almost human DNA, but with a missing chromosome. At first, they think that the DNA must be of the Martians, but after some pondering, Jim realizes that the missing piece is meant to be a test to make the humans prove their identity after encountering the object. Jim also deduces that Luke was earlier attacked as the thing defended itself, as it may have misinterpreted the radio scanner's transmission as an incorrect answer. Unsure of what would happen if they happened to transmit back a message encoding a completed DNA sequence, curiosity takes over the group, and they decide to send over a rover near the object to do the job. Meanwhile, Phil has nearly completed repairing the ERV. As the rover draws near to the face-like object, it starts transmitting the signals toward it. Moments later, their plan succeeds as a vast door opens in the object, with a bright light shining out of it. Following this, Luke, Jim, and Terry head out to explore the object, while Phil remains inside the ERV, being ordered to launch off if they don't return after a certain time. As the trio enters the ship, it is bright white all around, and the door shuts behind them, locking them in. On the other hand, a dust storm is approaching the ERV, but Phil has lost all communication with the trio inside and cannot inform them. Inside the giant face, the trio finds that the atmosphere is safe to breathe and removes their helmets and gloves. Then, they head to a dark room where they see visuals of the solar system. The visuals show how Mars was once a green and thriving planet, but one day a meteorite collided with Mars, drying up its water bodies and making it inhabitable. Then a hologram of a Martian walks up to them and shows that all the Martians evacuated the planet to head to another system. But one ship stayed behind and sent some seeds of life to Earth. These seeds generated life on Earth, which created human beings. The trio then holds hands with the Martian, and a portal opens below them. The Martian signals toward it and disappears. Realizing that it is an invitation to travel in the Martian ship to its home, Jim thinks that his wife always wanted to explore planets and extraterrestrial life, and decides to stay in it, while Luke and Terry head back to the ERV after saying a final goodbye. Outside, the storm has gotten very extreme, due to which Phil is not able to contact them. He is just about to launch the ship when he hears Luke and Terry radioing that they are returning to the ship. Overjoyed, he waits for their return before launching into space. Meanwhile, Jim is transported to another chamber of the ship and submerged in a fluid. In the end, the Martian ship speedily launches into space and zooms past the ERV as they watch it heading towards another galaxy, much faster than them. That was all for this recap. If you enjoyed the story, remember to like and subscribe for more science fiction film recaps.